Welcome to Toyah and Robert, your deeply unqualified agony aunts, ready, willing and available to give you useless answers to a few of your many burning questions this week.
Richie Angel, you ask if we could have one historic person to dinner, who would it be?
Archibald Armstrong.
And who is Archibald?
The court jester to King James I of England, King James VI of Scotland.
And what would you ask him?
What was James I's response when you pulled your breeches down and mooned him as he came on his triumphal procession into England from Scotland to claim the English crown?
Well, he didn't get beheaded or anything, did he?
No, he didn't. He did eventually upset James I a little too much, but that was much later.
Okay, mine would be Hildegard of Birmingham. She was, let me read you this, it's very brief, but it just puts her in the picture. She was also known as Saint Hildegard or Hildegard of the Rhine. She was a German Benedictine abbess, a writer, composer, philosopher, Christian mystic, visionary and polymath. She is one of the best known composers of sacred monophony, as well as the most recorded in modern history. Now, I would just like to meet her and say, how the hell did she do that in the period that she existed, which was male-dominated and women were starting to be burnt as witches in most of the world? And I just think she would be the most remarkable person to have around a dinner table, especially if we could add one more person, and that would be Jimi Hendrix.
May I make a comment, lovey? William Seashore in 1940...
He fought Seashore?
Yes, dear. Said that women would not be good composers because all their creativity was focused on having babies, and their babies would be the composers. Men, of course.
No!
Yes, 1940, William Seashore, however you pronounce it.
Oh, make your own minds up on that one. John Willcox, hello, how are you? Can simplicity be a greater challenge than complexity? I'm going to start this one. For me, simplicity is pure and complexity is when we add our life experiences. And sometimes within the creative act, I have to go to simplicity. And I find that, and this is contradictory, but I find it in primary colour. There's something so beautiful and direct about primary colour that when I have writer's block or that when I want to be inspired, primary colour unlocks every door for me, and that's what I see as simplicity because it's so basic and true and there.
Well, everything begins with simplicity and then it gets complex and then eventually you get wicked problems. So they're both problematic. However, in terms of a musician or player or artist of experience, to be simple you have to get to the essence of things, and for that you have to understand your field of endeavour.
Wow. Okay, well, thank you for that one, John. Now, Mark, Ashley, you asked, what is our most memorable question?
Oh, I remember mine. It was an interview in Japan. 3 days of interviews constantly, 8 a day. And then they said, will you do another 4 on the Saturday morning? Oh, all right. So, yes. And it was a professor of philosophy from Tokyo University. And this is Robert. Bear in mind, 3.5 days of interviews. Oh, and then final question. Where does music come from? From the professor of philosophy. And my reply was, tell me where the world was before it was made, and I will tell you where music comes from.
Did he give you an answer?
No, I think we have some more questions.
Okay, well, my most memorable question is quite a recent one. It's when we moved to this area and a lovely lady in Holland and Barrett, which in this country is like a natural, you get pills there and all of that, it's all very natural based. And she said to me, when was your husband in Motley Crue? So we kept that one going. She still thinks he was in Motley Crue.
I think she also mentioned that you've tamed your husband down quite a bit since he was in Motley Crue.
And another one I was always asked, we've been married for 34 years. I was always asked this, my husband was never asked the equivalent. And this always came from one newspaper. How do you feel about your husband running off with a younger woman?
The younger woman I ran off with is my wife.
Yeah, quite. It's funny though, no one has ever said to you, how would you feel if I ran off with a younger man? Not that I'd ever want to.
I trust you.
Oh, baby. So, we have some quite important questions we want to address today, and this is from Jefferson Lee Eng. I think I'm spiraling down in major COVID fatigue. I miss interacting with people and seeing friends. Wow. I mean, it's just dragging on and on and on. Can you offer advice as we enter cold, dark winter of the later year?
What would you say, Lovely?
Well, the reason this is behind us, and this may seem childish and superficial, but as we enter into the prolonged darkness, I can't tell you how important light is. So I put the Christmas decorations up last night because we're all stuck inside. So why not have what is potentially the best part of the year for the next 3 months? And I noticed since I put all these up, my husband is laughing a lot more. You've really, you've lifted a lot. I've lifted a lot. And I think it's just in these 3 months, we have to create a reality we can exist with. And if that means being slightly absurd or living with things that you don't normally have around you, I think turn your environment into an environment you can sustain yourself through for the next 3 to 6 months. And the other thing is, I always turn to something, and this goes to, this is hooking in a question by Vilius Ancelis.
Let's say yes.
Who is, what do you do when you can't be creative and you're tired of life? There's 2 things I do. One is cruel. I always look up someone I feel I'm competitive with, and that's like a sharp spike up the jacksie. But the other one is that there's some wonderful membership apps out there. One is Masterclass, and it's so inspirational. The people are so full of light and intelligence, and their success kind of, you kind of absorb it into you. So it's called Masterclass, and I totally recommend that looking at these people, because I believe we're all equal, but these people have had a success that none of us have quite had, just tapping into things that are great, and that sometimes just think, well, I can do that. I can do that. I can do what these people have achieved. So you have to reach out beyond the confines of your home, which, I think is sometimes easier said than done. Do you have any advice on that?
Sometimes life is so hard, you just can't get out of bed.
Yeah, and? So
just get out of bed and allow yourself to do anything after that.
And also, I'm really telling this to someone who sounds very, very desperate. Remember where your foot touches, not everyone has that. Where the water comes from, not everyone has that. Where the food has arrived on your plate, not everyone has that. And we have to learn to be grateful for what we have. And also, I think gratitude just allows the universe to work with you. And we both believe, and I think a lot of you that watch this also believe, that we are here to work with the universe and vice versa. So I always try and remember on those really bleak days that I've got a carpet under my feet, I've got hot water, and I've got food, and I've got clothes. And sometimes that just helps a perspective that's really important.
May I say one more thing? The assumption of virtue. So, for example, I don't always feel like being a smiley old man.
He very rarely is.
So what I do sometimes is I just smile.
Yes, smiling. Sometimes just stand in the mirror and laugh. That can really alter your body.
Yeah.
And you have to force yourself to do it. Smiling and laughter are things that tell your body what you want to attract to you. It's very, very important, that one. So we really hope that both Jefferson and Vilius, that you find your place, that you find a place that you can be the best you in. And we're thinking of you. So, Jonathan Edwards, what has been your most embarrassing moment?
when we moved to Broadchalk, a reddish house, at the end of 1987, the walls needed thatching. So this is now in 1988. Toyah gave me a kiss and went to London.
I think I gave you about 5 kisses.
There were a few, dear, for which my gratitude, by the way. And then the thatcher, the master thatcher and his apprentice arrived, and we had to talk over the job. So I went outside and walked along the garden wall with them, and they were looking at me, as we would say in Dorset, bit funny. And they were polite, but there seemed to be something about me that interested them. And I got back into the house and glanced as I walked by a mirror. I had lipstick kisses all over my face. So these characters had been seeing this newly married man who was obviously continuously enamoured with his wife.
Mine, apart from permanently having Marmite, which is similar to Vegemite, all over my chin, having had toast for breakfast, and then going out and doing voiceovers for the whole day, and no one has told me that there's Marmite all over my chin. I do feel that when we were younger, embarrassment was a bigger thing. I think today it's not such a big thing. But when I was 18, I was at the National Theatre, working in the Olivier Theatre, which is a huge space on the first ever revolving stage. And I was a bit of a wild child, and the stagehands decided to get their own back on me. And they attached my costume, which was a scarf. I was playing a schoolgirl. They attached it to the scenery as I did my scene. And then the stage would revolve, revealing the next scene. So when they did this, I went to leave the scene and I instantly was stuck in the next scene as the stage revolved because I couldn't get off stage. And I had to stand in that scene until the stage revolved again and they detached my scarf. So Robert, what's the magic chord today?
This is a magic fairy fingers of the week, which continues on from last week's fairy fingers. Now, the end part of this, let's look at 2 variations. The first from here to this. The second variation is from here to this. Can I say that word? Bollocks! Original form, second form, third form.
It's beautiful, it's really beautiful.
Yeah, but I need to practice at least an hour before doing this.
So ladies and gentlemen, I think he played that really well. We hope you're all safe. We are thinking of you. Please hang in there. Okay, we might have 3 to 6 months of this, but surely it's got to be over after 6 months. We have to find a solution. Please reach out, talk to people. Please don't feel you're completely alone because the internet is a miraculous thing. Reach out. I'm sure we can build a community where we can all get ourselves through this next period of potential lockdown. Stay safe, we're thinking of you, and we will see you tomorrow for Toyah and Robert's Sunday lunch.
Be well,
Be well.